Inherited IRAs have quietly become one of the most expensive retirement mistakes. Not because people broke the rules, but because they followed them a little bit too literally. So if you've been told just wait until year 10, this episode could save you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. Welcome to SWBC's Uncharted Wealth podcast, where we help you navigate retirement with clarity and confidence. I'm Mike Walters. I'm a wealth advisor and a certified financial planner here at SWBC. In today's episode, we're breaking down the inherited IRA 10-year rule. Okay, it's the mistake that most beneficiaries make and how to turn this into a tax planning opportunity instead of a tax disaster. Now, the real problem with the 10-year rule is that before 2020, most non-spouse beneficiaries could stretch IRA distributions over their lifetime. That's why they so adequately called it the stretch IRA. Well, that's gone. It's gone. It's out the window. So thanks to the Secure Act, most non-eligible beneficiaries now, they only have one option. The account must be completely emptied by the end of year 10.
10 years later.
There's a few exceptions, of course, like spouses, disabled beneficiaries, minor children. But most people that are listening to this are going to fall under that 10-year deadline, which means that's not a long time to plan for. Now, here's the costly mistake of doing nothing until year 10. The most common advice I hear that people are being told is that you don't need the money, so just wait. Okay, just wait until take it to year 10. And that sounds safe, but it's not really safe. Okay, you're being a silly goose. So while you're waiting, your IRA is going to keep growing. Like hopefully you didn't just move it to cash. And most beneficiaries are going to be still working and usually in their peak earning years. So think about this. When your parents pass away, right? Hopefully a long time from now if they're in their 80s. And if you're 15, 20 years younger and you might still be working, those might be your highest income years. Okay? So when year 10 arrives and you take that large distribution, it's just going to stack on top of your income, which is then going to push you into a higher tax bracket. And if you are near Medicare age, which is 63 or higher, you could be looking at those IRMAA surcharges that I've talked about in the past episodes, right? Could also put you into some kind of phase outs for the other cool tax planning things that one can generally take. But by year 10, at that point, there's really no flexibility left. The clock's run out and the IRS is now going to decide your timing. Being confused about RMDs is not going to change your strategy, okay? And there's been a lot of confusion about whether annual RMDs are going to be required during that 10-year period. Now, it depends on two things. Number one, it depends on when the original owner of that IRA passed. And number two, it's going to depend on if they had already met their required beginning date. Okay, it's different than the RMD, that's the RBD, and it just means the date that they have to start taking RMDs. So if both of those two things happened, then you must take RMDs during that 10-year window. Now, IRS guidance has shifted recently and the enforcement on those things have been kind of unclear, but here's the key point. Minimum compliance of those RMDs does not equal good planning. Okay, so whether RMDs apply or not, the real issue is timing your income, okay, not letting it to the IRS minimums. Here are some smarter inherited IRA strategies that our smart gooses are going to follow. Okay, so this is where planning changes everything. Instead of waiting until year 10 to take it all out at once, what I tell a lot of clients to do is just to spread it out over 10 years and take the distributions evenly, okay? So maybe, for example, in year 1, take 10% of the account balance. Year 2, take another 10%, so on and so forth. And you want to coordinate those withdrawals with any other opportunities, like if you're going to have a job change or you're retiring, and especially if you're doing Roth conversions, you're going to want to make sure that you're planning around those. That way, you're paying the taxes on your terms, not the IRS's deadline. And another thing to talk about are inherited Roth IRAs. They have the same rules, just a different playbook, because if you remember, Roth IRAs are completely tax-free. So if you inherit one, well, you still have to take it out over 10 years, but all those distributions are going to be tax-free. In most cases, the smart move is going to let that account just keep growing, completely untouched until the money gets to year 10, right? Because then you're giving the most time for that tax-free growth to happen. And this brings us to our uncharted territory for today's episode. What if I told you to pay the taxes early on purpose?
What?
Well, that sounds pretty counterintuitive, but when you're dealing with inherited IRAs, it might make sense to pay the taxes earlier instead of later. Okay, for example, I've had clients take inherited IRA withdrawals while their tax rates were known and they were manageable before they start looking at Social Security benefits, having to deal with Medicare, or their own RMDs kick in. Okay, because look, those taxes are coming anyways, right? We know that freight train's going to come. But by managing them and being proactive about when we take them, you might be able to take them at a discount and defuse a potential income bomb later on. Food for thought. Because of the complexities of everything that's going around with inherited IRAs right now, they are going to require some active tax planning, not just putting it on autopilot and letting your custodian decide when to take the money out, okay? If the advice you're hearing is simply just wait until year 10, you do not have a strategy, okay? You are letting the IRS dictate it. So if you've inherited or you expect to inherit a pre-tax IRA account, make sure that that 10-year rule is being modeled for you and not just followed, because you want to coordinate that with your broader retirement and tax plan. And if you need help navigating that, reach out to us at SWBC Wealth Management, as we specialize in active tax planning year-round, which is designed to reduce your lifetime taxes, not just this year's bill. So with that being said, thank you for joining us on this episode of Uncharted Wealth. As a reminder, everything I talk about during the episode, whether it's tax, legal, or financial, none of that is to be taken as advice. You want to make sure you consult with your professionals on that. And any opinions that I share are my opinions alone, not anybody else's having anything to do with SWBC. Just me. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace. All right, tell me when you're ready. Tell me when you got.
Investing involves certain risks, including possible loss of principal. You should understand and carefully consider a strategy's objectives, risks, fees, and expenses, and other information before investing. The views expressed in this commentary are subject to change and are not intended to be a recommendation or investment advice. Such views do not take into account the individual financial circumstances or objectives of any other investor that receives them. This information should not be considered a solicitation nor a recommendation of an offer to provide any service in any jurisdiction where it would be unlawful to do so under the laws of that jurisdiction. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Please consult with your individual tax professionals and/or attorney for additional information.